Assalamualaikum dear students. Today we are going to discuss the solo growth model of growth. First we will start with the introduction. The model of solo growth basically given by Robert Solow. He belongs to the new classical school of thoughts, so that's why Robert Solow developed the new classical theory of economic growth, and Solow also won the Nobel Prize in economics in 1987. So this model basically as I have discussed here that Solow belongs to the new classical school of thought. So that means of course these models are based on the long run economic growth. As we have discussed earlier, the Keynesian school of thought basically focused on the short run growth models, or short run models, short run static models, but as compared to the Keynesians, the classical school of thoughts basically based on the long run models. So here that's why Robert Solow given the an economic model that is based on long run economic growth, which is set within the framework of new classical economists. We also know that in case of classical school of thoughts, they give more focus to the aggregate supply side as compared to the aggregate demand side, and in case of Keynesian school of thought, more focus given to the aggregate demand side as compared to the aggregate supply side. So previously, in order to start the Robert Solow, so we have a major understanding regarding the Solow's model. I will give you the brief introduction or information regarding the previous models that we have discussed, especially Harrod and Doman model, so you can get an understanding that how Solow growth model is different from the earlier growth models. So previously we have discussed the growth model that are based on the Keynesian framework. This is the first difference. Okay, so the major problem in those model is stability. It means that according to Harrod and Doman model, that in an economy there is a unique steady state path or steady rate of economy, and if due to some reason that economy miss that steady state path, then it is almost impossible to regain the equilibrium, or you can say the steady state path, and with the passage of time the economy further deviate from that steady state of path. This is the ideology of that we have discussed in case of Harrod-Doman model. So this is the major limitation of the prior model such as Harrod and Doman. On the other hand, this model also assume that natural growth rate, which is we denoted by GN, is an exogenous growth rate, and it depends on population growth rate. And on the other hand, they also said that, and we have no control on population growth rate, hence it is a matter of chance that actual growth rate, rate of growth and warranted rate of growth and natural rate of growth are equal. That means according to them, it is in reality it is a matter of chance that actual growth rate, warranted growth rate and natural growth rate are equal. So there are these are the quite big limitation of these prior models that are given in under the Keynesian framework. But the biggest contribution, if we can say, that has been given by Harrod and Doman model, is that they open the ways of growth economics. So this is the basic contribution of the Harrod and Doman model. So now we are going to discuss the assumptions of of Solow growth model. The first assumption of Solow growth model is that one good in the economy. According to Solow growth model, there is only one good in the economy. Why they make this assumption? They make this assumption is for the sake of simplicity. Like they suppose that economy is producing only one good, you can say rice, wheat, or maize. So according to them, the economy is producing only one good in like you can say rice. Fixed proportion saving function. So this assumption quite similar to the Harrod and Dover model. According to them, there is a fixed proportion of saving function, means this s is equal to sy, means this function will comes from the origin. When we are going to in the later slides, I'm going to discuss the graphical representation of Solow model, where you can see that this this functions s is equal to sy has the this function will comes from the origin and it has no intercept. So when we are going to discuss the graphical representation, you can get the idea why we said so. So on the other hand, the other assumptions according to Solow growth model, plant investment is equal to the plant saving, and on the other hand they said that labor force grows at a constant exogenous rate, means it means that in his model no variable of the model affect on the labor force. The other assumption they have made that no depreciation, like whatever investment is happening, it is net. It means that saving is equals to the investment. And what is investment? Investment, basically investment is addition to stock of capital, that is that we in case of Domer model and Harrod and Domer model, we have discussed that addition to capital stock is like we denoted with the delta K. So these are the assumptions of the Solow's model. So again, by having those assumptions, we are going to draw the function of, or and we are going to construct the function of Solow growth model. So before going to the Solow growth model, I like to discuss with you the some similarities and dissimilarities in between Solow and Harrod-Domer model. The first similarity that Solow and Harrod-Domer model have is the saving is a fixed proportion of income in both model. Harrod and Domer both assume that saving is a fixed proportion of income, and Solow also assume the same thing. So this is the similarity in between Solow and Domer model, Harrod and Domer model. In case of this similarity, the first dissimilarity between the Harrod and Domer model is that in case of Solow model, Solow assume that capital labor ratio is flexible. This is the major dissimilarity in between Solow and Harrod-Domer models, and it is also the significant departure of Harrod-Domer models. So according to them, according to him, according to Solow, capital labor ratio can be flexible, but according to Harrod and Domer model, it should be in a fixed proportion. So that's why this is the first dissimilarity. So in case of Solow model, capital labor ratio is flexible, and in case of Harrod-Domer model, K and L, which is capital labor ratio, is fixed. Okay. The next difference in between Solow and Harrod-Domer model, according to Solow model, saver and investors are similar. So this is the first this is the second dissimilarity in between Solow and growth model. According to Harrod-Domer model, saver and investor are different, but in case of Solow model, they are same. You can say they are same, but in case of Harrod-Domer model, they are different. That's why he made the assumption that planned savings are equals to the planned investment. Means saver and investor in case of Solow model are same. In other words, export saving and export investment are equal. Means planned savings are equal to the planned investment. So this is the major dissimilarities in between Solow and Harrod-Domer model. So now when we are going to discuss the Solow model, so you have a basic understanding regarding the Solow model, that how Solow model is different from the Harry-Doman model, and what are the contribution of Solow model apart from the Harry-Doman model. So in the next part we are going to discuss the specifically we are going to discuss the Solow model. In between, in order to make some comparison, we will discuss Harry-Doman model as well where it is needed. Otherwise, we are trying to focus on the Solow model.